Week now before South Africa decides in the 2019 general elections. For citizens, there are so many issues that they want the future government to deal with, and for some it starts with how that government will look. One group under the banner Shayisfuba campaign are feminist, looking for a feminist government. And to tell us what that means, I'm now joined by the national coordinator of the campaign, Keitumetse Fatimata Moutloatse. Thanks very much indeed for joining us. Welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so the elections are happening next week, and you are going to be marching tomorrow, and one of the big things for you is this issue of a feminist government. What does that mean?
So a feminist government is definitely not what our government looks like. I think that's my first point of departure. But essentially, a feminist government is one that doesn't favor a minority privileged group, right? A feminist government is meant to favor all its citizens, but taking into consideration that we have marginalized groups like women, children, people living with disabilities, members of the LGBTQI community. But not only that, we're also looking at budget, money, where are resources going to the country? And a feminist government says that, hold up, we need a gendered lens on everything, because the lived reality, society in itself, is a gendered experience.
So are we saying that the political parties, when you've gone through the manifesto, haven't really taken this idea of a feminist government into consideration? We know that the ANC, for example, has really good representation in Parliament with female MPs. Is that not enough?
Listen, representation is very dangerous, right? As a feminist, I understand the importance of having women represented in positions of power and positions of governance, but that's not enough, especially if you're operating in a very patriarchal system. So what we find is that we've got women shoved into positions, high positions, right? But the systems in which they operate are very patriarchal, which makes it very hard for them to even advance any woman's right, let alone a feminist agenda. So no, representation is not enough, right? And I think that's what a feminist government calls for, to say that gone are the days when you blind us with women in positions of power, but you keep them subordinated in these positions. We're saying that we want a completely different system of governance, a government that recognizes that there are marginalized groups. We're not only looking for equality, we're looking for equity. And that's something that 25 years into democracy, this country has failed to do.
So what needs to be done? How do we build this feminist government?
Listen, firstly, I'm a firm believer, and I think the Shayisfuba campaign really advocates that a feminist government is going to come from the ground, because we're also trying to break down some of the notions that the government is sitting in Parliament, right? The government is us. I mean, looking a little over a week into the next elections, the people dictate who goes into government. The people dictate what the government is all about. And therefore, if we're looking for a feminist government, we need to do the very tired and the very important work of going to the ground, educating women, educating not just women, right? Because a feminist government cannot just exist with women only. We're calling on all members of society, but it's definitely going to be built from the ground up.
So you're a young woman, and one of the things that we know now is that not a lot of young people, women included, are even going to bother to vote. How do we start to build these governments and this democracy if young people like yourself aren't showing up on the most important day of the democratic process?
I think it's not an issue of us not showing up. I think it's an issue of us being given a platform to really raise critical issues, right? And I don't think political parties are doing enough. I mean, kudos to the ANC as well as the EFF for introducing your born frees into their parliamentary list, but that's not enough. That, yes, is a good stepping stone into opening the political arena for younger people to engage, but we need more than that. We've seen that political parties are very suffocating for young people, but also young people need to get over the idea that political parties are the only platforms in which we can voice our ideas, our concerns. I mean, social movements such as the Fees Must Fall movement have shown us that when you come together collectively as young people, you're able to advance a cause far greater.
All right, so tomorrow you're hoping to put foot to the ground and march as a collective. Where, when, and what's it about?
So tomorrow, Shayisfuba exists in 5 provinces, by the way, including Gauteng, Western Cape, Mpumalanga, Eastern Cape, and I think I've mentioned, and KZN, yes. So tomorrow Gauteng will be having its first feminist assembly. Our assembly is essentially us introducing what a feminist government looks like. So we're not trying to impose what the government should be, but we want to get the people living every day to tell us, what would health look like in a feminist government? What does education look like in a feminist government? Labor, those things are very important. GBV, does GBV exist in a feminist government? Those are all the issues we're trying to unpack tomorrow. But not only are we unpacking these issues, we're also trying to create concrete plans of actions. How do we move and advance these ideas in our communities? I mean, I'm a firm believer that yes, great, the national elections are important. It's really much of a spectacle. But the real important elections are the local elections, where the decisions are made that affect us on a daily basis, how our municipalities are run. That's where things need to happen. And I think Shayisfuba is really trying to build a movement that can go into our 2020 elections and say, hey, we want a feminist government, and this is how it's going to look like.
All right, so you mentioned patriarchy earlier, and I just wonder how you fight through the patriarchy, the cultural challenges that you face, because I don't even know if there is a Zulu word for feminism.
No, yeah. I mean that's a big concern. I don't even think it's a concern. I think it really challenges activists like myself who are committed to this kind of work to understand that not everyone will agree with the word feminism. In fact, many women don't like the big F word, but forget that they do feminist work on a daily basis. So we're also trying to bring down feminism, because feminism is seen as this white liberal idea, but we've been feministing since the test of time, and we need to bring that back into our lived experiences. How on a daily basis, how women who are informal traders make money. That is a form of feminism, because you're creating an alternative economy to a very patriarchal economy. We are always feministing. We just haven't found the language to articulate that position. And this is why Shayisfuba becomes so important. We are aimed at working class and poor women and non-binary folk. The space is open, but we're also saying the space will be led unapologetically by Black women.
All right, well, we wish you the best of luck and hope that the landscape changes with time, with movements such as yours. Thanks so much indeed for bringing this to our attention.
Thank you.